Chapter 259, a 260. I have ruined your plans, Tsunade exclaimed, subconsciously taking a step back. She was totally confused and utterly shocked. She only wanted to give Rei a pleasant surprise, but somehow she did the exact opposite. That was too much for her distraught mind to handle as she flopped back down onto her chair. Rei didn't give the woman even a second more for self-pity or any other undue thoughts. He stood up and approached Tsunade, giving her a tight, reassuring embrace with a comforting back rub. "Hey, I already said it is my fault. Don't worry. This just means I will have to—" Rei's eyebrows twitched. "Readjust my long-term plans." Inwardly, he was not pleased. Not at all. He knew he couldn't blame Tsunade, though. He had only himself to blame. Lately, everything went far too good to be true, and he might have grown a bit complacent. Naturally, everything went fine, because he put in an enormous effort to actually safeguard that everything would go just fine. He was never going in head first. He always planned. He always had Conan find out the most intel she could before any self-imposed mission, and then he made sure to consider as many eventual repercussions as possible. He did not play this deadly game blindly. He would like to believe he was playing it smartly and from the shadows. Heck, people still had no clue how he looked. He made damn sure to prevent Bingo Book from posting his, Conan's, or May's image all these years ago by destroying any and all the villages had. There was a vague description of their looks, but, well, to be honest, that was as helpful to the hunter ninjas as making Jiraiya into a godfather was for Naruto. It took a while, but Tsunade eventually relaxed her body in Rei's embrace, but she was still radiating with disappointment. It was obvious she expected high praise for her effort, and yet— "Well, I think it is high time for you to divulge your so-called plans, husband," Conan calmly stated with a small but sharp smile, causing Rei to inwardly cringe while he outwardly tried to appear as indifferent as possible. "And also the reason why you kept it secret, if you wouldn't mind," Conan added. "After all, I can stomach not knowing what you want to do. I have lived with you since I was a little kid. I have grown immune to your own brand of stupidity and learned to support you through it. But I won't stand for something as trivial as misinformation to cause trouble in our relationship," she evenly declared with finality. Sighing to himself, Rei knew Conan is doing this mostly for himself, rather than because she was upset. She was one of those who never complained and always supported him no matter what he wanted to do. But she was also never afraid of stating her opinion about it or even blatantly force him to do something she deemed beneficial for him, as long as it had to do with his relationship with his wives. This was not even the first time she took such a firm stand on a matter pertaining to their family. Rei simply knew when he was supposed to, shut up and do as his wife says. Well, at least I have a long night of apology sex to look forward to, Rei wryly thought. Yes, Conan could take a firm stand against him, but after a few times of that happening, Rei understood she never enjoyed it, and he always found her in his bed the following night, unusually clingy, eager to please, and her face scrunched with such an apologetic expression it almost broke his heart each time. "Ah," Rei awkwardly started, thinking what to say and how to justify his actions in words that would logically explain his desire to follow the plot up to a certain point. "I wanted Hiruzen to be the Hokage for a few more years, you see. He was doing such a good job at keeping the village stagnant in his policy to let civilians run the matters for him. Just look at Konoha's Ninja Academy," Rei said, getting a chuckle out of most of his wives. "They slightly lower the standards almost every year since the Kyuubi attack. The clans have too many internal problems like Hyugas or Kuramas, or simply do not care about politics too much like the Narashikacho Alliance, the Aburames, and the Inuzukas. Frankly, Konoha is one crackpot of lazy madness, and it is a wonder it is still standing. There is not much value in getting it under us," he wryly stated, getting a pitiful look from Tsunade. Alas, Conan's firm and hard gaze was far more important in this situation, and unfortunately for Tsunade's ego, Conan was far too good at spotting Rei's lies. When she wanted so, he was forced to be ruthlessly truthful. Well, Rei was truthful, somewhat. He simply didn't say it in words, he meant it in his mind. He simply wanted Hiruzen to stay Hokage until the Chunin exams in Konoha in 5 years. Orochimaru crippled and Hiruzen dead was too good of a result to not aim for it. Tsunade becoming the Hokage just because the village had nobody else capable of taking over the position would have been just the proverbial cherry on the top. To that end, Rei was vehemently avoiding Konoha. Sure, his actions all over the world affected Konoha in some way, but overall, it was really not by much. The biggest interference to date was placing a seal on Naruto with the goal of making him smarter, but that would have had a small effect on the plotline if Rei only wanted to preserve the events up till the Chunin exams. Even Naruto befriending Sasuke after the Uchiha massacre would have had no effect on that as far as Rei could predict. Hiruzen would have had his village weakened by Danzo and the civilians on the council behind his back no matter what. Orochimaru would have attacked no matter what. The clans would have been too lazy or busy to even complain no matter what. But now? Tsunade made Shikaku friggin' Nara the Hokage. After all, who else would be lazy enough to not care where the most important symbol of his station was located for 2 freaking weeks straight? It was a total bust now. Not only Konoha would get better after this, but Tsunade was basically a daimyo of the lands around it, which meant Rei's initial intention of keeping Konoha weak was no longer an option. He simply couldn't do that to Tsunade. As such, Konoha would have to get stronger from now on. As such, Rei could no longer be assured Orochimaru would be stupid enough to attack during the Chunin exam. Heck, Hiruzen was no longer the Hokage, so one of his reasons for the attack was gone. Yeah. Rei had no idea how the plotline would go now. Will the attack happen? Will Orochimaru employ more allies? Iwa? Kumo? Will he try Suna again? Actually, with Pakura that ship sailed long ago. Rei only now realized. Ah, screw it. What will happen will happen. I reckon you wanted to try something with Kumo and Iwa then? Conan instantly grasped what he was not saying by deducing it from what was already said. Rei gave her a small eye roll. Obviously. These two are the only ones I have no leverage over, and they both have a too solid foundation to just quietly take over or install our Kagi in them. There is no event in sight that would make such an endeavor easy anyway. I see, Conan hummed, mentally going through the latest intel on both of these villages and trying to find something. Konoha was of no concern, so you had time to focus your efforts on tougher nuts to crack, so to speak. She distractedly continued. Rei kissed Tsunade on her hair when he felt her tensing again before speaking. Yup. Not that it matters now. Tsunade rules the village, and that means I will not just stand and let her wrestle with it alone, he said, getting a grateful snuggle from the blonde. So, what now? Conan asked. Do you need something from us? Should I start causing disturbances in Kumo and Iwa? We can still think something up. No. Rei harshly interjected before releasing yet another sigh. Look, I kept my plans secret because I honestly couldn't justify giving you more responsibilities. You already have quite a bit of work. Ringo, I did persuade into accepting the position of the Mizukage, but that simply doesn't count, he exclaimed, getting a deadpan stare from Ringo. Returning an eye roll, Rei continued, She really only has to spend less than half an hour per day on her paperwork, and even then she mostly uses shadow clones for it. Compared to the other Kages, she is totally worry-free as other people do most of her job for her. Pakura loves administration, so I had no qualms about having her become the KasiCair. She knows her limits too, so there is no way she would have overworked herself either. But you, Conan, or Tsunade, you both are overzealous. Conan's eyebrows twitched while Tsunade froze in Rei's arms. I have seen it in your work for the Biri Company, and since then I decided to not involve you more than necessary. On top of the duties for the Biribiri Company, Tsunade has her medical research, and you, Conan, have an entire spy network spanning a whole continent to care for. I have never even dreamed of pushing another full-time job on you. As for May, all of them looked at the happy-go-lucky girl who munched on her cereals, ignoring the conversation in its entirety. What? May carefreely tilted her head when she noticed the stares. Anyway, Ray decided to continue. I think we should just focus on slowly improving the 4 villages under our control without alerting Kumo or Iwa. There is really not much to do about this, I guess. He slightly grimaced. His new plans would need a bit of thinking, but then again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Looking back at Tsunade, Ray schooled his expression and smiled. So, still up for that breakfast? He asked her with a small nudge. Tsunade raised her head, lifting her eyes to his. For a second, she held their eye connection as if looking for something in his eyes, before she smiled and nodded in agreement when she didn't find it. Yeah. With his previous plans ruined, Ray decided to be a bit more passive in his future approach, and most importantly, he now always consulted his plans with Conan. Well, not that he had any other option anyway after the last debacle, right? Kumo and Iwa were totally forgotten and left to their own devices. These two were frankly the strongest villages in the elemental nations, and as such, Ray deemed it far too troublesome to even try subverting them in some way, especially since they had no idea about the existence of the village on the other side yet. Iwa, despite losing a sizable bulk of their force in the Third Ninja War, was quickly on its way to full recovery. The thing was, Ray was only aware of that thanks to the monitoring of their purchases from the Biribiri Company and Conan's spy network. Onoki was damn good at keeping things under the wraps. They were 80% recovered and nobody had any idea. Iwagakure really deserved its moniker of the most militaristic hidden village. Kumo, on the other hand, didn't have many losses in the Third War, despite their borders being penetrated by Kiri. Their forces were bolstering, and the village enjoyed its momentary title of the strongest hidden village. After all, after the Kyuubi attack, Konoha really had no way to contend for it. Instead of expanding, Ray decided that solidifying their secret hold on the 3 foreign villages and developing them was the way to go. After all, there were still numerous either financial, political, or militaristic problems present in these villages, just waiting to be resolved. And while that was going on, the village on the other side was in dire need of more high-level personnel, too. Izumi Uchiha nervously fidgeted while sitting on the waiting sofa right outside Conan's office. She had no idea why she was called in by the woman, and her mind was fabricating various scenarios that made her quite jumpy. Conan was widely known as one of the most important kunoichis in the whole village. As a member of the Uchiha clan, which was totally new in the village and wanted to prove itself, Izumi wanted to make a good impression on Conan. The problem was, Conan did not socialize a lot, not outside of her job or family. Hence, the people in the village had no idea what to think about her or the personality she hid behind that cold exterior of hers. Yes, she was extremely respected, but so was Itachi Uchiha, and look where that led the Uchiha clan. At that moment, Izumi let out a whiny sigh as she realized that such a comparison was a bit too much and completely unfair to the people who saved her clan from assured extermination. Calm down, girl. You are too tense. What's the worst that can happen? Izumi wryly thought, trying to think up and compare the worst imaginable fate to calm her nerves. It's not like she could drown me in even more paper than my clan already does. With that reminder, her mood plummeted, and she didn't even notice how her nerves calmed down as her mind was filled with annoyance. Elder Isamu seemed to be grooming her for the leadership position in the future, which entailed a lot of paperwork on top of a lot of other paperwork, spiced up by some more paperwork, and to top it off, she got paperwork. At times, Izumi wondered if Isamu was making fun of her. Wasn't being a clan head supposed to be a bit more exciting? Unknown to her, it was simply a test if she was smart enough to use Sharingan for it, which she didn't pass. Hence, her current predicament. The door finally opened and Conan looked at the grouchy Izumi, lifting her eyebrow. "Good morning. Come in," she said and went back in. Not long after that, Izumi found herself sitting opposite Conan, who watched her like a hawk with a judgmental gaze, making her feel uncomfortable. Izumi, though, refused to budge or show her discomfort. To appear confident, no matter how squeamishly shitty you felt, was the very first lesson Elder Isamu instilled in her. Conan opened a file on her table and looked at it. Izumi Uchiha, most promising of the current generation of the young Uchihas, already awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsukuyomi confirmed. Preferences for Genjutsu, meaning a keen intellect and good chakra control. That's where Conan paused for a bit before reading out loud the next part. Moderately stupid as far as using her bloodline goes. Never found the trick of using Sharingan for the paperwork. Watching her wrestle with it is funny as heck, though. Signed, Isamu Uchiha. Conan looked back at Izumi with amusement written on her face, enjoying the slack-jawed expression the girl portrayed. "That jackass had me doing the paperwork for a month without telling me about the shortcut?" Izumi exclaimed in deep disbelief, while subconsciously standing up before bonelessly slumping back into her seat. There was a lot of paperwork involved in the assimilation of the Uchiha clan to the village, especially for the Uchiha clan leader. It was nice to know Isamu Uchiha had an unparalleled work ethic and knew the trick of making others do his job for him. "Looks like I have no reason to worry for the future of the Uchiha clan," Conan inwardly mused. A wide range of emotions flickered through Izumi's face before Conan deemed her entertainment satisfying enough to move on. "Do you know why you are here, girl?" The 13-years-old young woman blinked at Conan, before instantly straightening up in her seat when she realized she was still in front of her immediate superior. Gulping, she tried to give a composed reply. No, and promptly scolded herself for the small stutter. "You are here on recommendation from Isamu Uchiha to become my apprentice," Conan informed her. Izumi furrowed her brows and pointed at herself. "Me?" "You," Conan nodded. "Why?" Izumi asked in bewilderment. "Why not?" Conan tilted her head. "You don't want it?" "But..." Izumi frowned. She thought she would be the next clan head. That would mean working under Isamu Uchiha and learning the ropes of leading the clan. Not doing grunt work for Conan. Sure, working for Conan meant her future was assured if she did well, but she simply didn't understand. "You're Mangekyo. You have Tsukuyomi and Kamui, right?" Conan gave the girl a knowing smirk, causing Izumi to stiffen. How?" Izumi's head snapped back to Conan and her tone became guarded. She didn't reveal the second ability of her Mangekyo even to the elder Isamu. There was no way Conan could have known. "I am not the village's spy master for nothing, girl. You tried your Mangekyo in one of our training grounds. Did you really think I wouldn't know?" Conan rolled her eyes. "All of the trees in the village were made by the wood release. It was a child's play for Conan to connect her chakra to these trees with her own wood release, having them act like her own sensory field. She might not be able to keep herself informed of all the happenings in the village on the other side, to the degree May could with her boil release, but that didn't mean Conan did not monitor the village at all." Izumi looked at her hands. "If you chose me because of my eyes, then I am sorry, but I can't use my Mangekyo." "I would go blind," she fearfully whispered. That single attempt at using her abilities scared the living heck out of her. The searing pain in her eyes told Izumi enough about the damage that was being caused to her eyes. She grew up as an Uchiha. It was instilled in her that her eyes were the most important part of her. Any thought of damaging them sent a chill crawl up her spine. After that particular training session, despite her hatred for Itachi, Izumi found a newfound respect for her peer. She couldn't even imagine the determination he had to have to keep damaging his eyes for power. Conan looked at Izumi and sighed. The girl was serious. You know, the guy who helped Itachi with the massacre was a master at using Kamui, she revealed. As classified as that information was, Conan would rather have a motivated student than a fearful and depressed one. I chose you as my apprentice because, firstly, the Uchiha clan needs a connection to the higher-ups of the village. The Uzumaki, Kaguya, and other clans do have ninjas in reasonably high positions, so this could even the political playing field for the Uchiha clan. In the village on the other side, Rei ruled. What he said went, and there were to be no questions asked. That was a fact. But Rei didn't begrudge the clans playing politics and pursue self-betterment to a degree. That sparked a desire for development and strengthening themselves. Seeing other clans in the village getting richer or stronger made their cohabitants determined to reach the same heights. This competition was good as long as the clans had no say in the most important matters. The second reason for why you are here is, Conan continued, your fighting style with Kamui and Genjutsu could be very similar to mine once trained enough. Like Itachi Uchiha, you are a hit-and-run type of ninja. So, are you willing to become my apprentice? Do I even have a choice? Izumi meekly asked. Of course you do. Conan rolled her eyes. Except, no, she did not. But the girl doesn't need to know that. Conan inwardly frowned. The second Isamu Uchiha recommended Izumi for this position. It was obvious her chances at becoming the clan leader were null and void. Ah, well, I created a miracle with Mei and Ringo. I am sure with Rei's help, I can make another one. Who knows? Maybe she will end up as the clan head if she does well. Izumi silently contemplated her situation. This would take her away from the clan for quite a significant amount of time and most likely hurt her chances of becoming the clan leader. On the upside, she would definitely grow strong. Extremely strong if Conan does right by her. But then again, Conan was not doing this out of the goodness of her heart either. It was obvious this apprenticeship would simply be grooming to fill some kind of position in the village. After a while, Izumi just shook her head. Even if this was not extremely beneficial to me, there is no way I could turn down the opportunity to get a connection between the Uchiha clan and the village's leadership going on. If I did, I would have been made into an outcast in my own clan. She emptily chuckled. I accept. Conan simply snorted. She always found clan politics ridiculous. So, what's first? Izumi curiously asked, causing a particular glint to pass through Conan's eyes. Conan warmly smiled. Why? You gotta learn how to properly do the paperwork, of course. And suddenly, Izumi started regretting her choice.